Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from RAU'S IAS Study Circle. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from your UPSC perspective. Now today we shall discuss the important news which has appeared in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, dated 1st July 2020. The news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen and time stamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So on this note, let's start our today's discussion from your prelims as well as mains perspective. Now our first news of discussion appears on page number 1 as well as page number 11. Page number 1 is about the Prime Minister's address yesterday. It says free food grain scheme till November. Additional outlay of rupees 90,000 crore under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, and it will benefit 80 crore people as per the Prime Minister of India. And a similar news appears on page number 11 saying that Union Minister for Food and Public Distribution welcomes Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana extension till November 2020. So, from our examination point of view, the Prime Minister's announcement becomes important from three aspects. First is with respect to extension of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana till November. Second is with respect to One Nation One Ration Card scheme. And the third is with respect to the Prime Minister of India thanking the honest taxpayers. So here the culture of tax paying in India becomes important, and a question on mains can be asked with respect to this aspect of the culture of tax paying or not paying within the country. So yesterday's announcement of the Prime Minister of India should be seen from an examination perspective through these three prisms. Now, the whole idea of the message is to strengthen and extend food security within the country through the targeted public distribution system. Now, the targeted public distribution system was launched in 1997, having a focus on poor, and later it was institutionalized through the National Food Security Act of 2013. The concept of food security was further strengthened through Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which was announced in March 2020. And then the government announced additional food security under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and this was done in May 2020. And this focused on migrants or such people who were not covered under National Food Security Act or through any other targeted public distribution system. So whole idea of Prime Minister's address of yesterday was to strengthen and extend the concept of food security in India through targeted public distribution system launched in 1997. And it is in this pretext that the Union Minister for Food and Public Distribution Ram Vilas Paswan has said that so far 87% of the food grains under the scheme, that is under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, has been reached to their beneficiaries. So in this regard, the aspect of food security becomes important, and in this regard you should know about National Food Security Act 2013, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which was announced in March 2020, and the additional food security system announced under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, announced in May 2020, especially focusing on migrants or those people not covered under National Food Security Act or through any targeted public distribution system. Now, with respect to distribution of food grains, the National Food Security Act has divided households as per eligible households, and according to eligible households, houses are covered under priority household or Antyodaya Anna Yojana households. So, the priority households shall receive 5 kgs of food grains per person per month at subsidized prices from state government under targeted public distribution system. Whereas with respect to Antyodaya Anna Yojana, the household shall be entitled to receive 35 kgs of food grains per household per month at subsidized prices. And in this regard, it is the state government which shall prepare the guidelines to prepare list of priority household as well as households covered under Antyodaya Ann Yojana as per the National Food Security Act of 2013. And this shall be done for both urban as well as rural areas. So these aspects becomes important to understand the basics of food security in India, which is covered through the targeted public distribution system carried on by the respective state governments. Now another important aspect is that the coverage of the population under targeted public distribution system shall be decided by the central government, and this shall be done on the basis of population estimates as per the latest census. So all these aspects becomes important with respect to the National Food Security Act of 2013, as questions can be framed in your upcoming prelims examination. So based on the National Food Security Act, the Government of India came up with Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, and this was announced in March 2020. So it says that the government is implementing National Food Security Act 2013 in order to ensure food security to 75% of the rural population and up to 50% of the urban population, thereby covering approx two-thirds of India's population. And the eligible people are entitled to receive 5 kg of food grains at the rate of rupees 1 or 2 or 3 per kg for nutrition cereals, wheat as well as rice respectively. So it is in this regard that the Prime Minister yesterday has announced the extension of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana from July till November of 2020. So it says that the scheme will continue to remain applicable from July till the end of November, and during this 5-month period more than 80 crore people will be provided 5 kg free wheat as well as rice per month. And along with providing 5 kg free rice as well as wheat to each member of a family, 1 kg free whole chana will also be provided to each family per month. So this is what has been announced yesterday with respect to Prime Minister's speech on extending Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana till November 2020. Now with respect to Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan announced in May 2020, it also provides for additional food security. So it says that under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, the Government of India has decided that 8 lakh million tons of food grains will be provided to about 8 crore migrant laborers, stranded and the needy families who are either not covered under the National Food Security Act or who are not covered through the public distribution system or who do not pose any ration card. And in this regard, 5 kg of food grain per person shall be distributed free of cost for the months of May and June to all migrants. So this is with respect to food security under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan of May 2020. Further, with respect to One Nation One Ration Card scheme, the Ministry of Consumer Affairs have declared that as on 1st June 2020, One Nation One Card scheme has been enabled in 20 states and union territories. And by 31st March 2021, all remaining states will be added to One Nation One Ration Card scheme, and the scheme will be operational all over India. So in this regard, the One Nation One Ration Card scheme will be implemented across the country, and for this purpose, data of all ration cards will be connected to one server, and any beneficiary anywhere in the entire country can be able to pick up their grain from any public distribution system of their choice. So basically, the process of integrating data with respect to all ration cards is taking place in the country so that it can be connected to one single server. And this will enable any beneficiary across the country to pick up their food grains from any public distribution system in the country. So basically, this will also benefit the interstate migrant worker because most of these workers have their ration cards in their own home state. So overall, this will be beneficial for all the beneficiaries. So this will further enable food security in the country. And in this stage, it says that work is in the final stage with respect to integrating the entire public distribution system with the depots online system in order to ensure seamless working of National Food Security Act and to bring further transparency in the storage and distribution process of food grains. And this aspect, even the Food Corporation of India will provide an internet gateway to integrate DOS, that is Depots Online System, with the state governments. So basically, the technical aspect with respect to ensuring One Nation One Ration Card is being worked under as of now. So as per the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, already 20 states as well as union territories have enabled the One Nation One Ration Card scheme, and the remaining states will be added in the scheme by March 31st, 2021. So this is with respect to One Nation One Ration Card scheme. Now from your prelims perspective, this topic gets covered under economic and social development, and from your mains it gets covered under GS paper 3 as well as GS paper 2. Under GS paper 3, it gets specifically covered under public distribution system and objectives, functionings, limitations, revamping, as well as issues of buffer stocks and food security. And under GS paper 2, it gets covered under welfare schemes for the vulnerable sections of the population by center and states, as well as performance of these schemes. Thus, this topic becomes very important from the perspective of food security. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 17. It says external debt rises $15.4 billion to $558.5 billion in March. US dollar denominated debt remains largest component of external debt. Now both these aspects with respect to external debt has been asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2019. So the question asked was, consider the following statements. Most of India's external debt is owed by governmental entities. And second, all of India's external debt is denominated in US dollars. So in this reference, this topic becomes very important with respect to external debt of India. So in this regard, the Reserve Bank of India has published a report on status of external debt of India as of March 2020. So in this aspect, you should know about external debt. Now, external debt includes total money owed by government, corporations, or Indian citizens to foreign creditors. And the foreign creditors could be foreign government, multilateral institutions, or even private commercial banks. So, in this regard, let us understand this concept of external debt and its various classifications, and also try to solve this question asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2019. Now, as you can see that this table provides for first of all categorization of external debt, major heads under external debt, and present status of external debt with respect to India. So this categorization is done on two accounts. First is with respect to duration of loan, and second is with respect to borrowing entity. Now on duration of loan, it is either short term loan which is less than 1 year, or long term loan which is more than 1 year. Now with respect to borrowing entity, the debt is either owned by government or non-government institutions. The government debt is referred as sovereign debt, and non-government debt is referred as non-sovereign debt. And these non-sovereign debts can be any debt other than the government, including the private sector. So the second table talks about the classification of these external debts. This classification is first of all based on multilateral debt. It says that debt from multilateral institutions such as World Bank, IMF, ADB, etc. So one kind of debt is where India takes debt from these multilateral institutions, and this has been categorized as multilateral debt. Second is bilateral debt, that is debt taken from any sovereign country such as US, Japan, Germany, etc. Third is with respect to trade credits or export credits. Now these are loans or credits extended for imports directly by overseas supplier, bank, or financial institutions. The next aspect is external commercial borrowing. Here loans are taken from commercial banks as well as other commercial and financial institutions. And lastly, the classification is NRI deposits. Now the non-resident deposits in banks and financial institutions in India are also categorized as debt. So please remember this aspect as well. So considering this classification and categorization of debt, let us understand the present status of external debt with respect to the Government of India. So the table highlights that cumulative external debt at the end of March 2020, India's external debt was placed at $558 billion, and this amount is equivalent to 20.6% of India's GDP. And this debt is $15 billion higher as compared to India's external debt at the end of March 2019. Now, with respect to composition of debt, it says that non-sovereign debt, that is debt owned by non-government institutions, accounts for 17% of GDP, whereas sovereign debt accounts for only 3.6% of GDP. So coming to the first statement, it was most of India's external debt is owed by government entities. No, this statement is incorrect. As you can see that most of the debt is owned by non-government entities. Second, components of debt. It says external commercial borrowings accounts for 40% of external debt and remains the largest source of external debt, followed by non-resident deposits. So here you must understand that debt through external commercial borrowing accounts for 40% of external debt and remains the largest source of external debt, followed by non-resident deposits. So largest source of external debt is ECB, and second largest source of external debt is non-resident deposits. It then says duration of debt. Now long-term debt, that is those debt who matures after 1 year, accounts for 81% of external debt, whereas short-term debt, that is those debt which matures prior to 1 year, accounts for only 19% of external debt. So long-term debt are more as compared to short-term debts. And lastly, with respect to domination in debt, US dollars or debt in US dollars account for 53%, whereas remaining of the debt accounts in rupee, yen, SDR as well as euro. So coming to the second statement, it says all of India's external debt is denominated in US dollars. No, this is again incorrect. So the question was which of the statements given above are correct. So here the correct answer was D, that is neither one nor two. Now from your examination perspective, this topic gets covered under Indian economy and in your mains gets covered under GS paper 3. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 13. It says World Bank okays funds for Namami Gange. It's a 5-year loan of rupees 3000 crore. Now again we are talking about a loan from World Bank, that is a multilateral debt. So in this regard, this news says that 5-year loan with respect to Namami Gange has been approved by the World Bank worth rupees 3000 crore, and this loan is to develop as well as improve infrastructure projects to reduce pollution in the river basin of Ganga. Now in this regard, this news highlights that for the first phase of Namami Gange, already rupees 4535 crore has been sanctioned from World Bank, and this has been done for the period till December 2021. Further, this news highlights about the second phase with respect to the Namami Gange. Now, second phase with respect to Namami Gange includes spillover projects from first phase, cleaning projects in the tributaries of Ganga, as well as 3 new projects in Agra, Meerut and Saharanpur with respect to cleaning of tributaries of river Ganga. So from your prelims perspective, you must know about Namami Gange and also about tributaries of river Ganga. Now as you can see that Namami Gange program is an integrated conservation mission and has been approved as a flagship program by the Government of India way back in June 2014, and it has an overall outlay budget of rupees 20,000 crores, and under the Namami Gange project it has twin objectives. First is with respect to effective abatement of pollution, that is reduction of pollution, and second is with respect to conservation and regeneration of river Ganga. And Namami Gange program functions under the newly formed Ministry of Jal Shakti. It further mentions about main pillars of Namami Gange program, which are sewage treatment infrastructure, river surface cleaning, afforestation, industrial effluent monitoring, riverfront development, biodiversity, public awareness, as well as Ganga Gram. And with respect to implementation of Namami Gange project, it has been divided into 3 aspects. First is entry level activities. So under entry level activities, it is with respect to showing immediate visible impact. Second is with respect to medium term activities, and under this various aspects of the program needs to be implemented within 5 years time frame period. And third is with respect to long term activities, and under this various aspects of the program needs to be implemented in 10 years. So these can be said to be some of the important aspects of Namami Gange program. Another important aspect is with respect to tributaries of river Ganga. So the tributaries of river Ganga are Yamuna, Ramganga, Ghagra, Gandak, Kosi, Mahananda as well as Son are some of the important tributaries of river Ganga. Further, rivers Chambal and Betwa are the important sub-tributaries which join Yamuna, and then Yamuna meets Ganga in Allahabad. So these are some of the important tributaries of river Ganga. Thus this topic becomes important primarily from the perspective of environment from your prelims examination. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news appears on page number 17. It says that banks sanction rupees 1 lakh crore loans to 30 lakh MSMEs, where it says that rupees 45,860 crore has been disbursed till June 26 already. Now as per this news, Ministry of Finance has said that banks have already sanctioned more than rupees 1 lakh crore under the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, which was part of Atmanirbhar package for the MSME sector. So in this regard, the MSME sector and the revival becomes an important aspect from your examination perspective, as already a question has been asked previously by UPSC on MSME. So in this regard, you should also know about the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. It says it is a scheme to extend collateral free loans by banks, non-banking financial companies, as well as microfinancial institutions to small or micro business enterprises and individuals in the non-agricultural sector. Now this aspect becomes important with respect to non-agricultural sector, so that the loan enables them to set up or expand their business activities and to generate self-employment. So basically the Mudra loan is with respect to MSME sector, and includes individual in the non-agricultural sector. Now, on similar lines, a question was asked by UPSC in the year 2016. The question was, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana is aimed at. Options were A. Bringing the small entrepreneurs into formal financial system. B. Providing loans to poor farmers for cultivating particular crops. C. Providing pensions to old and destitute persons. And D. Funding the voluntary organizations involved in promotion of skill development and employment generation. In this, the correct answer was A, that is bringing the small entrepreneurs into the formal financial system. So in this aspect, this Atmanirbhar package with respect to MSME, with respect to emergency credit line guarantee scheme becomes important from our upcoming prelims examination. So the question is that why has the government come up with the emergency credit line guarantee scheme for the MSME sector? Now, because of the COVID-19 implications, the economic strain has been more on the MSME sector. So in order to revive the MSME sector, the government has come up with emergency credit line guarantee scheme for the MSMEs. It highlights that the scheme has been formulated as a specific response to the unprecedented situation caused by COVID-19 and subsequent lockdown. And because of the lockdown, it has severely impacted the manufacturing and other activities in the MSME sector. So basically, to revive the MSME economy, the government has come up with ECLGS scheme for MSMEs. It says that the scheme aims at mitigating the economic distress or loss which is being faced by the MSME sector. And this will be done by providing them with additional funding up to rupees 3 lakh crore. So in this regard, the Ministry of Finance highlights that of the 3 lakh crore guaranteed under Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, the scheduled commercial banks have already sanctioned more than rupees 1 lakh crore for the MSME sector. It says that the main objective of the scheme is to provide an incentive to member lending institutions, which are banks, financial institutions, and non-banking financial companies, to increase access to and enable availability of additional funding facility to the MSME borrowers. And this is facilitated by the government in view of the economic distress caused due to COVID-19 crisis. So primarily because of the COVID-19 crisis and in order to revive the MSME sector, the government has come up with emergency credit line guarantee scheme. So the question becomes that how will this scheme help the MSME sector to revive? It says that it will enable additional funding up to rupees 3 lakh crore to eligible MSMEs and interested MUDRA borrowers by way of emergency credit line guarantee scheme. Further, it says that under the scheme, 100% guarantee coverage is to be provided by National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company Limited, that is NCGTC, for additional funding up to rupees 3 lakh crore to eligible MSMEs and interested MUDRA borrowers. And this additional funding will be in the form of guaranteed emergency credit line facility. And in this regard, the cabinet has said that the scheme would be applicable to all loans sanctioned under GECL facility, that is under guaranteed emergency credit line facility, during the period from the date of announcement of the scheme till 31st October 2020, or till an amount of rupees 3 lakh crore has been sanctioned by the banks under guaranteed emergency credit line. So these aspects becomes important with respect to ECLGS scheme. So in this regard, let us go through some of the salient features of the scheme. It says that the entire funding provided under guaranteed emergency credit line shall be provided with a 100% credit guarantee by NCGTC to member lending institutions, that is banks, financial institutions, NBFCs, etc. under the ECLGS scheme. Further, the tenor of loan under the scheme shall be for 4 years with moratorium period of 1 year on the principal amount. That is, no interest will be charged for the first year on the principal amount. It further says that even no guarantee fee shall be charged by NCGTC from the member lending institutions under the scheme, and interest rates under the scheme shall be capped at 9.25% for banks and financial institutions and 14% for NBFCs. So please remember, the interest rate for MSME under ECLGS scheme is different for banks and financial institutions and for NBFCs, as this form of a statement can be asked by UPSC. So in this news analysis, you must know about emergency credit line guarantee scheme and also about the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana with respect to the MSME sector. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news to be discussed appears as an article on page number 7. It says, making trade more digitized. while different interventions have positively developed the port ecosystem, there are still gaps that needs to be bridged. So overall, this article talks about the benefits of digitization of ports so that less and less time is spent on paperwork at port, and it also increases business as well as ease of doing business with respect to India. So in this regard, this article starts by mentioning about the decline in commerce primarily because of the COVID-19 and also because of lack of economic activity in recent times. So it says that with respect to decline in commerce, India's export in April has contracted by almost 60% as compared to last year. And this is also visible with respect to activities carried on at Jawaharlal Nehru Port in Mumbai, as there has been a fall of 37% with respect to cargo handling at the port. So in this regard, the article says that with respect to increase in digitized trading across the ports of the world, India also needs to catch up. So, in this aspect, the article focuses on two aspects. First is the steps taken by Government of India to reduce time and cost with respect to clearance of goods at port, and second is with respect to areas where more work is needed and where we can bridge our gap with respect to catching up with the best ports across the world. Thus, this topic of digitization of port becomes important from our economic perspective in our prelims examination, and in your mains gets covered under GS paper 3. So, let us start our discussion with respect to focusing on these two aspects which has been described in this article. So let us first of all go through the steps taken by Indian government to reduce time and cost with respect to clearing of goods at the ports of India. Now here there are four aspects highlighted. First is with respect to ratification of the Trade Facilitation Agreement of the World Trade Organization in 2016 by India. Second is with respect to launching various schemes with respect to ports across the country. Third is with respect to the port community system, and fourth is with respect to the e-Sanchit scheme of the Government of India. So on the first aspect, it says that the Trade Facilitation Agreement of 2014 was ratified by India in 2016, and it is a global multilateral initiative to rationalize the stringent procedures which governs international trade. The second, with respect to launching of various schemes, the Government of India launched direct port entry. Now, direct port entry for export containers has resulted in reduction of time to obtain customs approval, and this has significantly brought down the timing as well as it saves cost. Second is with respect to direct port delivery. So under this, the containers are directly delivered to the importers, and this avoids the need to route the clearance through container freight stations. And this initiative of direct port delivery was first launched at JNPT in Mumbai and thereafter extended to other ports of the country. Third is with respect to radio frequency identification system. Now, all major ports in India have been directed to implement the radio frequency identification system to track movement of people, materials as well as vehicles within the port premises on real-time basis. And lastly, it provides for a single window interface for facilitating trade. So these schemes launched with respect to ports across the country has reduced time with respect to processing of goods at the port. Next is with respect to the port community system. It highlights that it is aimed at seamlessly integrating all maritime trade related stakeholders on a single platform. And lastly is the scheme of government, namely the e-Sanchit scheme, that is e-storage and computerized handling of indirect tax documents. Now this is mainly aimed at reducing human intervention. So all these steps taken by the Government of India has reduced time as well as cost at the ports across the country. So in this regard, there are certain benefits with respect to the steps taken by the Indian government. It says that these schemes have resulted in continuous improvement in India's ease of doing business ranking, particularly in the aspect of trading across borders parameter, on which India was ranked 68 in 2020. However, the news says that with the current crisis because of COVID-19 and decline in trade, ports across India demand a greater leap in trade facilitation measures to expedite the movement, release, and clearance of goods. So, the article says that while different interventions of the government have positively developed the port ecosystem, there are still certain gaps which needs to be bridged. Now, coming to the second aspect of the discussion with respect to the areas where more action or more effort is required on part of the Indian government. So, the first is with respect to standardization and coordination of processes across ports. So it highlights that as of now, different ports still use very different processes. So in this regard, the government can come up with a standardization process with respect to coordination of different ports across the country. Further, the news says that awareness and acceptability of the new initiatives taken among the users will depend on the adaptability as well as ease of linkage between different multiple systems. And in this regard, some of the delay in moving to a paperless trade ecosystem can be attributed to certain gaps in effective implementation of digital platforms. These gaps are first with respect to shortcomings in the functionality of the system and technical glitches which results in limited use of the system. Next, it says that lack of connectivity or message exchanges between different stakeholders systems result in delayed cargo clearance. And third, it says that there are still many issues with respect to training and capacity building among the users, and this overall restricts the optimal utilization of digital platforms. So, first of all, there is a need of standardization of process, and second, there is a need of proper training and capacity building amongst users. And there's a need for creation of more awareness and acceptability of new initiatives taken by the government of India to reduce clearance and time at the ports across the country. So these are some of the aspects highlighted in this article with respect to digitization of ports and also some of the areas where more work is needed on part of the government. So with this, let's move on to our next news analysis. The last news of discussion appears on page number 18. It says plant thought to be extinct for more than 135 years found in Sikkim Himalayas. It says that botanists from Maharashtra and Kerala rediscovered Globa andersoni, which is commonly known as dancing ladies or swan flowers near the Teesta River Valley. Now here this news becomes important because of this particular question asked by UPSC in the year 2018. The question was, why is a plant called Prosopis juliflora often mentioned in the news? Options were, its extract is widely used in cosmetics, it tends to reduce the biodiversity in the area in which it grows, its extract is used in the synthesis of pesticides, and none of the above. In this, the correct answer was B. That is, it tends to reduce the biodiversity in the area in which it grows. So it is in this aspect that this particular news becomes important, appearing on page number 18. So in this, the news says that the paper titled Rediscovery of Globa andersoni and three new synonymies in Indian Zingiberaceae belonging to the ginger or turmeric family details the retrieval from wilds of this endangered taxon, which was thought to be extinct after 1875. So in this regard, this particular news becomes important, and especially about the rediscovered Globa andersoni. So a similar question can be asked with respect to Globa andersoni. And in this regard, you should know that Globa andersoni is endemic to Sikkim Himalayas. That is, it is found only in the Sikkim Himalayas, and it is also commonly known as dancing ladies or swan flowers found along the Teesta River Valley. So all these aspects becomes important from your prelims perspective with respect to the section of environment, ecology as well as biodiversity. Now after our discussion, this forms your practice question for the day. It says, with reference to report published by Reserve Bank of India on status of external debt of India as of March 2020, consider the following statements. First, India's external debt has decreased as compared to 2019. Second, external commercial borrowings remains the largest source of external debt for India. And third, sovereign debt has increased as compared to non-sovereign debt. So in this, the question is, which of the statements given above are incorrect? Options are A, 1 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, and D, 2 only. Now coming to the answer of yesterday, the question was, which among the following can be considered as the problems with open-ended procurement policy of the government? Options were 1. Inability of the government to meet its food buffer stock norms. Second, increase in food subsidy bill. And third, lack of crop diversification in agriculture. In this, the correct answer is second as well as third, as the first is not one of the problems with respect to open-ended procurement policy of the government with respect to food. So in this, the question was, select the correct answer using the code given below. So here the correct answer is C, that is 2 and 3 only. So with this, we come to an end of today's discussion. Thank you.